By 1943, the sky over Europe was no longer empty. It was a trap. Every morning, American bombers rose into the cold air, engines trembling, wings heavy with fuel and bomb. Below them England, ahead of them Germany, and waiting in between were men who knew exactly where they would die. When the escorts turned back, the bombers continued alone. That was the rule. German fighters watched from above the cloud, untouched, unhurried. They didn't rush, they didn't panic. They waited, and when they attacked, the sky exploded. Bombers fell in pieces. Crews vanished in smoke. Survivors learned a cruel truth. Courage was not enough. By the end of 1943, the United States Army Air Forces faced a brutal reality. If this continued, the bombing campaign would collapse, and with it America's chance to win the war from the air. The solution did not yet exist, but it was coming. 3 years earlier, Britain was running out of time. France had fallen. The Luftwaffe ruled the sky. An invasion felt inevitable. British officials crossed the Atlantic with a request that sounded impossible. They didn't want a license-built aircraft. They wanted something new, and they wanted it immediately. North American aviation made a promise few believed could be kept. They would design a fighter better than anything flying, from scratch, in months. Most thought it was arrogant. They were wrong. In just 102 days, a sleek, unfamiliar aircraft took to the sky. It didn't look like a warplane. It looked fast. The British named it Mustang. At first, it seemed like a miracle. Then the fighting began. The Mustang was smooth, beautiful, efficient. Pilots loved it the moment they touched the control. But above 15,000 feet now, it began to die. The Allison engine, reliable, dependable, simply ran out of breath. German fighters waited higher, where the Mustang couldn't reach them. In the skies, where the war was actually decided, the Mustang was powerless. The verdict came quickly. Not suitable as a high-altitude fighter. The aircraft that would one day win the air war was quietly pushed aside. It flew low-level mission, recon flight, ground attack. Useful but forgettable. The war raged on, and American bombers kept dying. The breakthrough came not from America, but from Britain. Rolls-Royce engineers stared at the Mustang's airframe and asked a dangerous question. What if the problem wasn't the plane, but the heart beating inside it? They installed a Merlin engine. When the Mustang flew again, everything changed. The aircraft didn't struggle. It climbed higher, faster, farther. At 30,000 feet, it wasn't surviving. It was dominating. When American tests confirmed the results, silence filled the room. This fighter could escort bombers all the way to Berlin and bring them home. The P-51 Mustang had finally become what it was always meant to be. Early 1944, German radar operators noticed something new. The bombers weren't alone. They kept coming, and the fighters with them didn't turn back. Mustangs didn't wait for the Luftwaffe anymore. They went looking. They dove out of the sun. They chased fleeing fighters. They followed Germans back to their own airfield. For the first time, German pilots were hunted. Veterans died. Aces disappeared. Training units were thrown into combat before they were ready. The balance of experience, the true currency of air war, collapsed. The sky was no longer Germany's shield. It was their grave. By summer 1944, the Luftwaffe wasn't losing planes. It was losing people. Fuel shortages grounded squadron. Replacements lacked towers. Survivors were exhausted. Mustangs attacked rail yard, refineries, airfield. They didn't need to win every dogfight. They only needed to keep fighting. When Allied forces landed in Normandy, German troops looked up and saw something terrifying. Nothing. No friendly aircraft. No protection. The air war had already been decided. A P-51 didn't create heroes. It amplified them. Pilots like Chuck Yeager and Bud Anderson flew with an understanding that few machines had ever given. If you had skill, the Mustang would keep you alive. It dove faster than enemies could follow, climbed higher than they expected, flew longer than anyone thought possible. German pilots learned to recognize instantly the sound, the shape, the certainty. One veteran would later admit, "When the Mustangs arrived, we knew the war was lost." The P-51 wasn't perfect, but it was complete. Range meant pressure. Speed meant choice. Reliability meant presence. It stayed, hour after hour, mission after mission. Wars aren't won by brilliance alone. They are won by machines and people that can endure. The Mustang endured. When the war ended, the Mustang kept flying, not because it needed to prove anything, but because nothing had replaced it. It had been underestimated, dismissed, nearly forgotten. And yet, when the war reached its most desperate moment, the P-51 Mustang didn't just answer the call. It changed the outcome. The sky, once a death sentence, became a weapon. And the aircraft that made it possible was the Mustang.